Let's begin with the bloodbath in Indian stocks and why. The election results show Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party-led alliance leading in nearly 300 seats. However, the lead is narrower than what exit polls had predicted. Here's a look at the markets and how they performed.
Benchmark stock indices closed out Tuesday with over 5% losses after rallying to record highs in the previous session. The blue-chip Sensex index crashed to end Tuesday nearly 4,000 points down. The index opened deep in the red, down over 2,000 points, but tumbled over 6,000 points at one point during the day. Both the indices marked the biggest single-day fall since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. The sell-off in Indian stocks weighed on the broader Asian market. The 10 biggest losers on the MSCI Asia Pacific Index are all from India. A slim victory for the Modi-led coalition raises questions on the new government's ability to push through reforms. This is likely to weigh on the country's assets further and also deter foreign investors who are already contending with pricey valuations. The rupee weakened by the most in 10 months against the dollar, and the yield on the 10-year bond rose as high as 11 basis points to 7.06%, the biggest jump since October. Avnish Jain, head of fixed income at Canara Robeco Asset Management, said if the government is weak even if the NDA forms it, then they won't have the full ability to do reforms. He added it could lead to a broader fiscal push and some populism in the budget. The Nifty's tumble brought the gauge closer to hitting its first circuit limit since COVID-era crash in March 2020. The sell-off in Indian stocks has echoes from the 2004 elections when the BJP's unexpected defeat triggered a market crash. Trading was suspended twice when the S&P BSE Sensex fell more than the 10% limit, the first time in the exchange's history. Nonetheless, some investors are banking on continuity.
At this point in time, when we're seeing the election results, it is clear that, while it may not be a very strong majority for the NDA, there will be a majority for the NDA. The NDA is set to return to power. So the policy continuity which the markets were expecting and in fact aspiring for is something that will be coming through. So that is the first thing that will give calm and will give, sort of that aspiration to the market that yes, there is going to be policy continuity. We are going to start seeing the similar sectors getting the boost that we wanted to see, and that's something that's going to help in the market recovery. So definitely we're going to start seeing that sentiment go back up again as soon as there's a little bit more clarity on okay, now this is the final look of the government formation.
Analysts say the government's infrastructure and manufacture-led drive will be boosted. Dong Chen, Chief Asia Strategist at Bong Pictet, said, "I still think the policy direction of Modi will likely stay, which should support India's economy in the longer term." However, with India's stock market volatility indicator hitting a 52-week high, analysts predict the current volatility to continue. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Well, Indian financial markets sold off sharply as early vote counting trends suggested Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party BJP-led alliance is unlikely to win an overwhelming majority as predicted by exit polls over the weekend. Let's now talk about this development and what it means. Joining us now is Professor Vikas Singh. He's an economist and author. Professor, welcome to the show. I just want to know from you, after the mayhem that we experienced in the stocks today, what is your expectations in the coming week?
It's very difficult to predict what's going to happen in the next 1 week, but it all depends on tomorrow. I think if there is a fall, there could be some kind of a panic. My advice to the retail investors would be to sit tight, wait for about a month or so, watch what the government does next. I think the signals will come within a month or so. I think they should also wait for the corporate earnings to start kicking in from the next month onwards. Mm-hmm. It's very, very clear that everybody doesn't have to buy every day. So wait and watch would be the best idea. In the long run, my belief is that the market will go not because of market has not been going up or the economy has not been growing only because of the government, but it also depends on the kind of demography we have. India has got a very, very robust demography, and the economy is looking robust and healthy. There will be opportunity to make money it may not happen in the next 3 months, it may not happen in the next couple of quarters,
Right.
but in the long run, investors will make money. They don't need to go and buy something tomorrow or the day after.
Professor, investors are jittery. We can understand that. We saw that after this announcement was made. Do you think investors will bet on policy continuity or worry about the narrow victory margin for the BJP NDA-led alliance?
I think there will be some kind of hesitancy in bringing in radical reforms. That's given. The Prime Minister will watch that this new government doesn't have the brute majority it had for the first 2 terms. So there will be some kind of a slowdown in terms of what kind of policy reforms they will bring. The agriculture reforms is definitely out, but it also depends on what kind of partners do they get. Maybe in the next couple of quarters, they should be able to get in other fence-sitters, other political parties who may want to be part of the government. And if they're able to get a couple of more political parties, maybe another 15, 20 more MPs, their passage to the Lok Sabha would be easy. So I think it's difficult to say what's going to happen in the next couple of quarters. But my belief is, knowing how Narendra Modi works and how this government and political party works, I think they should be able to pull it off. People should not be too worried about a narrow majority, though it will hurt them in the short run. Because my belief is that they should be able to manage to get a couple of more political parties in their fold as well in the next 6 months or so.
Every election, world over, markets do fluctuate, markets do act up, but the Indian stock markets has surprised very many investors and also citizens alike world over. What does this jump, or what we are calling bloodbath, mean for India?
I didn't hear the last sentence. What did you say?
What
Sorry.
does this bloodbath, what we are calling a bloodbath in the stock markets, mean for India?
I think you're exactly right. I think the Indian market has continued to surprise. I think in 2000, when the left party along with the Congress came to power, I think people had lost hope, but that was really the start of a huge bull run. So the stock market is largely dependent on how the economy does. And the economy is largely dependent, of course, it's dependent on the governance, it's dependent on the reforms, but it's also dependent on the strength, the inherent strength of the Indian economy. And that largely comes from the number of consumers. It has 65% of all growth is led by domestic consumption. It's dependent on the demography that India enjoys, which it will continue to enjoy for the next 15, 20 years. So I'm not too worried about how the narrow majority that the government may have, because the economy will continue to chug along. I just hope that the Prime Minister, the new Prime Minister, or Mr. Narendra Modi doesn't cave in to the pressure of his other partners and stop the reform process that he has so well carried out in his first 2 terms. India needs investment in infrastructure. India needs investment in capital goods. India needs jobs, and the only way to get jobs, to create jobs, is to make sure that the economy does well. That's my view, that people should not get worried about what's happened today. I think in the next 4 or 5 years, they will make money.
I'm still on your last point there, Professor, and I want to get your take about the results so far. Very quickly.
About what? Sorry, say it again.
Your take about the results so far.
I think the result is really unexpected. I don't think there's anybody in this country who would have ever expected that the government may not be able to, the BJP may not be able to get a majority on its own. So in that sense, it's been disappointing. I think many people would be disappointed, especially the market watchers would be disappointed. But kudos to the Congress government, kudos to the kind of fight that they put in, and I think they have done well. India also, we must also not forget that for a good democracy, the opposition, the strength of the opposition is equally important. I hope the opposition plays a responsible role, and by doing so, the government will do better, and the Indian public will benefit from it all.
All right, I've been talking to Professor Vikas Singh. He's an economist. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.